good leader is as good as the top talent they can get, then all a good leader is a reflection of who they bring on. They can be strategic in their direction, so purpose, right? They can have a really good strategy in where they're going and how they're going to get there. They can recruit top talent.
Nothing like a good old cup of culture-based podcast to get your day started. I always just try to do something coming out of the bump there just to make, just to break Blake just a little bit. That's always my goal. So if it breaks you too, I equally apologize and say you're welcome. But welcome to, speaking of welcoming, welcome to the Culture-Based Podcast. I'm Dustin. He's Blake. He's breaking. That's what he is. That's what he's known as around here. Culture-Based Podcast. We are here to help leaders know what they're about, show where they're going, and develop a scalable team to get them there. Today, episode 86. Whew, we are getting old, son. The importance of purpose and values in employee retention. I hate the term employee. Maybe we'll change the name of that. I don't know. I just hate it. I know that a lot of people are like,
team
that's
member.
what they are. They're employees. I know, but I just hate it. I don't know why I hate it. I just hate it. Maybe I was abused by the term employee at some point. We're getting real vulnerable real quick here on the Culture-Based Podcast today. Before we get into that topic about team members or employees and the values and all the things that we're going to talk about today, I want to remind you that you can subscribe on audio podcast platforms and on YouTube. Like, subscribe, ring the bell. If you're listening to this on an audio podcast platform, which many of you are, and we thank you for listening, we would love for you to rate and review this on whatever you're listening on. It helps get this content out further to those like yourself who can benefit from it. So be a pal, share it, review it. Be nice. This world needs more nice people. You can be one of them equally by sharing this podcast. You can follow us on Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn at The Culture Base, BASE. And you can head to theculturebase.com to book a free 30-minute strategy session with us. Or you know what, if you want something a little more less interactive with us, you can go there and pick up the Scalability Playbook. And I'm not ready for this. I don't have the graphic pulled up or anything, but here it is. The Scalability Playbook. Get your free copy, free copy of the Scalability Playbook at theculturebase.com/resources. The 5-star reviews are already rolling in, and we would love for you to pick up your free copy so that we can help you scale your team. Yeah. I think it's everything we got. Let me see if I can get rid of this because I don't know how to get rid of it. And boom, there it goes. Okay. Sorry, y'all. It's been a minute since we recorded. And gotta shake the old dust off, as they say. But yeah, today's episode, Blake, we're talking about the importance of purpose and values in team member retention. Team retention. What are we talking about here, Blake, when we're talking about team member retention? Let me just give your overview on it before we ever even get into the problem. Give me Blake's raw thoughts on this topic.
On purpose and values to keep people?
Yeah, man. Why not? That's what we're talking about today. Might as well start there.
So as I think about purpose and how important it is, and I would say, okay, you know what? I'm just going straight into like story here because I think that it's kind of like shows how we are fueled and guided and everything that's very true about this world. Like this drives me nuts about people who are like, the thing about millennials is they care about purpose. Okay, that's a true statement, but it
everyone.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's said in such a way as if that's not true for every other person.
Exactly.
And every other person's purpose may be connected in a different way. In fact, it is. But the thing is, we need that motivation. We need something that guides us and gives us a target to shoot at. Otherwise, it's real easy to not have purpose. Yesterday, I was at an event with a bunch of people, and they brought these stupid little, like, you ever seen these? It's just like a measuring tape. Okay.
My kids use those in school when they're, or homeschool. We homeschool our kids because we're weird.
Yeah.
Our kids use those when doing math.
Exactly. And they've got the inches and they got the centimeters and they go up to like
That's a ruler. Yep.
120 centimeters, right? So you're explaining these things. Well, we weren't doing math, but what they did was they took one and they said, "Hey, I want you to go, and we're using centimeters. I want you to go to the centimeters that you are in your age, and I want you to tear off that part." Okay. So look at that part. That represents everything you've been up to this date and everything you've done, marriages, kids, like when you started this in your business, when you did this. And then they're like, and now go to 80 and tear that off. And then they left you with a piece this long for me, right? And they said, that's what you got left. What are you going to do with this? Like, how are you going to transform? How are you going to keep growing? How are you going to use the experiences if you have the wisdom you have to go do something meaningful? It was a stupid exercise that just wrecked, right? Like,
Right.
it wrecked
Yeah.
me because it was like, wow, you get to see a rough idea end, and the end isn't even guaranteed, by the way. That you might have way too much on what's the reality that you have left.
Yep.
But it all of a sudden it put us in a place that we started really thinking about what's important and what's not important. Okay? Purpose. That's what it is. What is important? What is not important? So that's I think everyone's looking for that, not just the millennials. Everyone's looking for that purpose. They're looking for something to grab a hold of because nobody wants to get to the end of their life and been like, that sucked and I'm super happy. Everyone
Yeah.
wants to their end of the life, have those around them that love them and think, I lived a good life. I did the right things. And if you're telling me that what we do, our vocation, that the trade, our craft, our art isn't important in that, the thing we do more than anything, the place we are more than we are anywhere, doesn't matter, you're out of your flipping mind.
Yeah.
So why do we want to keep top talent? Because top talent cares about this piece of paper. Okay.
Mm.
If C players, D players, even some B players, they don't care. Well, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about top talent. And top talent does care about this. So
Right.
you keep those kind of people, that's what we got to focus on. So, having said that, unless you have anything you want to get into the problem.
Here we go. All right,
So,
Blake. What's the problem here that we're talking about today?
if all of what I just said was true and not completely false,
Oop,
then
hang on. We got
we've got
we got a thing for that. False.
false. If that's the case, then we need to look at a couple things that maybe we're causing issue to because it's easy as for you as the leader, and I'm not trying to get to the leader section and stuff, but it's easy that if you as the leader doesn't articulate things well and share purpose, and even though you go, oh, but there's a ton of purpose, people can have and grow and however they want, and you don't know how to articulate, that's a problem.
Mm.
I think right there one of the big quotes even is that people don't quit companies, they quit cultures that lack purpose, right? Like these are things that if we don't set definables for what we exist for and articulate ideas and articulate how people can change things, they're not going to have an understanding of whether they can fit there. In fact, I would almost say that most people, okay, I'm giving a big generality here even. Most people don't even know what their purpose is. They're
Mm.
looking for
That's
something
good.
that they actually can connect to.
That's good.
Yeah.
I actually have a story about that real quick. I'll
Yeah.
try to make it brief. Speaking with one of my clients earlier this week, and in business, right? There's constant decisions every single day that define who you are going to be as a company and who you're not going to be as a company. I always refer to this analogy as the coffee shop trying to sell pizza, right?
Mm,
Are we a coffee shop or are we a pizza place? And you need to pick a lane, right? So I was talking to one of my clients this week, and we have a lot of conversations that get us really close to a marketing agency, but we're not a market. He's not a marketing agency. And so after a long 75-minute impromptu coaching session, uh, I basically just said, "Hey man, I think you need to work on a purpose statement
mhm,
because I hear your heart in a lot of these things, but until you're able to connect to your purpose, you're going to continue to kind of swerve on this road
Mhm.
and not drive straight and fast. And that's what we
Mm.
want. We want to drive straight and fast, right? And I mean, within a couple of hours, he started sending me and a couple other guys some drafts of it, and now he has like a really good purpose statement. And now I coached him. I said, now you use that for everything in your
Yeah.
life. It's a personal mission statement. It's not a
Yeah.
business mission statement. So for him, it applies to him being a father, a husband, a friend,
Yeah.
a business owner. All of that runs through that. Now he has a directional beacon. Now he has a compass to move forward on. 100% echo your problem here, Blake, saying that we, I think companies often lack mission and purpose because the people leading them do.
Yeah. Yep.
That's what I got.
Yeah. You know what's I was thinking about this. If you went up to any rando on the streets, okay,
I love
just walked
randos.
up, love randos, and you said, "Do you have purpose?" What would they say? "Yeah, I have purpose." The
Well, what is
next
it?
question nobody can articulate. What is it?
Yeah.
What's your purpose? That's the problem. Yes, of course, everyone has purpose. But if you don't spend some time to learn how to articulate that, you are perpetuating the problem that is global, that
Yep.
nobody knows how to articulate their purpose or what their purpose is and spends that time. um this values, right? Like if you can't know your purpose, which is like, hey, this is what we're about, now you can't create parameters of values or core values that are guardrails to protect that purpose, to
Yeah.
make sure you have the right people in that lane for that purpose, to make sure you have the wrong people out of that lane
Mm,
for that purpose.
yeah.
This is one of the bigger problems, is that we do want to retain top talent. Part of retaining top talent is getting rid of bad talent. It's
Mm,
saying these people shouldn't be in this place, and because we don't have core values, because we don't have a clear mission, we're bringing anyone who can pass the breath test. We're throwing them in, and we're saying, "Look, this is great. Everyone loves everyone." That's not true. Everyone doesn't love everyone, and a lot of people frustrate everyone, and we
yeah.
let them on the team because we didn't know our parameters.
I want to share a thought real quick that I think will bridge us into the solution. If you're okay, if you're got any more problems that you want to hit, you good with that?
I maybe have one more thing,
Okay, cool.
but
Well,
go for it.
I'll say this and then we'll go to yours and then we'll go to the solution.
Okay.
We're talking about purpose and values, and we kind of identified this personal purpose and how it reflects into the company's purpose. And then now we're starting to talk about values a little bit, and you're going to hear more about that in the solution and some of these action steps. But let me just define values for you really quickly, because I feel like a lot of times companies say values and there are posters on the wall and we're supposed to have a certain number, and an odd number is a good number to have. And is it three? Is it five? Is it seven? How many is too many? Blah, 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 blah. Right. At the end of the day, values are the vocabulary of your purpose.
Mm,
They're the
mhm.
vocabulary of your purpose. You can't, I love what Blake was saying there. Like, you can't really get to knowing what your values are until you define clearly what your purpose is, personal and company. So don't try to come up with, I mean, everybody's like, yeah, my purpose of my company is to make money. Well, that's not going to last very long. You got to have a bigger mission, a bigger vision than that, right? And so when we're able to get into the real purpose of the company and the real purpose of yourselves, then we can go, oh, well, the language is organic and you don't
Mm,
have to make it up. And so then you just go, yes, this is us. No, this is not us. Clearly define those parameters and use that vocabulary, because now you're putting like words and action to your purpose.
yeah, man, that's good. A couple weeks ago, I was at uh, a retreat for probably 40 other CEOs, and
Flex.
well, no,
I'm just messing.
the point I'm trying to get here is that one of the speakers is huge private equity, one of the biggest private equity companies, which, to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of. Not point of the story. However, private equity people know how to figure out really good leaders,
Mm,
because their whole business is built across how long can you keep top leaders,
yep.
perhaps to quickly make a multiple, but regardless, um, they talked about having a kind of parameters they look for in good leaders. And one of the leaders that I thought was so good, he said, really the best leaders, not just CEOs, but the best leaders have three things: First, they can be strategic in their direction. So, purpose, right? They can have
Mm,
really good strategy in where they're going and how they're going to get there. The second thing was that they can recruit top talent and not just recruit them, they can make sure they connect to purpose and values. And one of the things that I was thinking about in this is that if that's true, that a good leader is as good as the top talent they can get, then all a good leader is a reflection of who they bring on.
let's
And
go.
so that's where I think we need to find what do we think reflects where we're going? And what do we think saying, like, hey, we just can't find good people. We just can't find good people. Yeah, but you might not be a good leader then. Because if that isn't important, if that isn't a reflection of you, I know those are hard words. I just think
Mm.
that it probably should sit there for a second. And for those of you who are like, he said three and he didn't say the third's not necessarily pertinent right now, but it's can you execute? Like, can you
Mm.
execute KPIs and accountability and get people and get to the direction you need to? So I'm sure it is connected.
If you want the third one, you can email info@blakebear.com. I'm just kidding. That's not a real email address, but you can send it anyway. Let's get into the solution. I love the solution, Blake, because now we get
Mhm.
practical.
Mm,
I love getting practical. So there are a few things, right? You can institute a lot of different things around purpose here. I just want to challenge you from this point on in the podcast. Just pick one for now. Just pick one and do it really well. Don't try to do all the things. Don't be a scatterbrained leader that's running the rat race and trying to figure out all the right things to do at the same time. Just pick one of these. And if I could give you one, in addition to finding out that personal and company purpose, it would be to develop some purpose driven decision guidelines.
mm,
Your purpose and your values, they need to be the decision making guardrails. Otherwise, they're just words on a document hidden somewhere that no one ever references, or words that are on your website or the front door or the lobby or something like that, right? Like they don't mean anything. What in anything in life, right? Like it only matters if you use it. That applies to everything, right?
yeah.
It's like the hammer only works if you use it. If you just try to
Mm,
press the nail in, you're wasting energy. But
mm,
use the hammer for what it's for, right? So use
yeah.
the purpose and values for what they're for. They're for guiding and keeping boundaries on your decision, keeping boundaries of who stays in and who doesn't get in. What you got?
Yeah, it's funny. I have my daily quote that I have that pops up is by Thomas Edison today, and it says that the value of an idea lies in the using of it.
That's right. 100%. I love Edison so much. He's one of my favorite quotes.
Mm,
Favorite quoters.
yeah.
What
That's
do you
all he
call that?
did actually.
Hey, he didn't even really do anything. He just sat around and said things. And people are like, damn, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, he says he's the one that said that genius is 99% perspiration, 1% inspiration.
Yeah.
I think I had that
Yep.
backwards. 1% inspiration, 99% perspiration. That's
Yeah.
kind of like my life verse, if you will.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So some other strategies here that you could implement. We're talking about keeping the right people on and keep on and keeping the wrong people out or in and out. Right. Using those purposes and values to uh, filter and guide your onboarding systems.
Mm,
Right.
yeah.
Let them know what you're about from day one before any curmudgeons within your company start to get to
Mm,
them. Then you
yeah.
can identify the curmudgeons and get them the heck out of there. You know what I mean?
You know, um, someone said this as well recently,
Ooh, I
and
love
I
this, a quote episode.
this is a quote episode, and this was actually at that same place that apparently I'm flexing on.
I
But
was just messing.
this was
He's holding it real tight.
this was they said this and I just like stopped and paused because like when you have an A player in your organization, do you question that they're an A player? No. Like you know that they're an A player.
Mm,
And this person said, when you don't know, you know. Like when you're not sure if someone's the right person and you've really kind of given it like
That's your
You
insight.
know, your subconscious just hasn't allowed your frontal cortex to know. Like, that's it, but you know. And it's just like one of those, like, we've had, like, and just because we have good culture and good retention doesn't mean we are perfect and we don't have these misses. We do. And even right now, there are a couple people across a couple different organizations that I'm like, I've had to keep telling myself, "Hey, when you don't know, you know."
Mm,
And then half the time, you're only seeing through the lens of like foggy glasses. And so everyone else is, of course, everyone else knows perfectly. When you finally do let someone go that's not part of that and doesn't fit, then everyone's like, yeah, they don't fit. And here's why. And then you hear all the stories and you're like,
mm,
guys, come on. Like, let's be a little more forthright on this one. So
yeah,
all I would say is, I want to echo that sentiment. When you don't know, you know.
yeah, that's good. Last solution here I want to offer up to is to let the values dictate your meeting structure.
Mm,
Make sure they're value focused, beginning, middle, and end. It doesn't have to be literal. It can be adjacent. It could be parallel, right? But as long as it's guiding it,
mhm.
then it's woven deep into the culture, and that's what people stick around for, is actually doing what you're saying you're about. You can be a
Yeah.
complete jerk as long as you're upfront about, hey, we're the jerk company, and that's what we do. And if you're not a jerk, you can get off the bus. Great.
Mhm.
I know. Right? At least I know.
At least you know.
If that's what we're about. Then yes, I either do love being a jerk, or no, I'd rather not be a jerk. The
Yeah.
jerk company. I just
The
made that up.
jerk company.
All right, let's get into some action steps. What you got for us, Blake? What are some action steps for leaders?
Yeah, for leaders. Obviously, you got to find the right people. So I think the thing I would say is first, value this more than you have. Even if you're like, oh no, but we really value it. Cool. Then just value it more. Don't be that guy. Keep pushing. Be someone who says, hey, I think that this might be one of the most critical things for my company or for my team is having the right people. Because you can, if you have five people and three of them are the wrong people, I would say you can get more done with two than you could with those five,
Mm,
because the three that you have that aren't good are exhausting the other two, and they're going to burn them out, and you're going to see what toxicity looks like. Okay, so first thing I would say is value this much higher than you do. Second one is just like Dustin was saying earlier, learn how to articulate your purpose. And if you haven't
mm,
taken the time to do some kind of exercise like that, do it. And if you're like, yeah, but I have more important things, I would venture to say very, very, very few are more important than this.
yeah.
Okay, because all you're doing is check boxing when you don't have direction.
Oof.
So if purpose doesn't matter, then enjoy your check boxes. I hope you sleep well at night. Your company won't last. Okay. So have purpose, go after that, articulate it, because if you can find out how to articulate it, you're going to be able to help your team. The second part, sorry, I'm breaking Dustin. The second part of this,
You
I
good,
would
good.
say, is the best way to articulate purpose is to not do it like this.
Mm,
Here is our purpose. This is what we do. Tell
boring.
stories. Tell stories. Yesterday we had our notes day for Ridgeline.
I said,
Here's a
here's a
story.
story.
Here's a story. And let me tell you real quick, for a leader who says, yeah, but I'm not good at speeches. Neither am I. I'm horrible at giving talks, at giving speeches, horrible at it. And in fact, what I've learned is I'm better at storytelling. And so I actually rarely prep outside of like a, hey, here are the things I want to talk about in like a outline. I will not prep because I'm not good at doing that, and I've learned that about me. But I love stories because when I tell stories, I see life come to people's eyes. And that is what I care about more. That's a purpose for me, is to bring life to people. And so when I can tell a story that impacts someone in the right direction and I can show them what it looks like and show them these things, um, it's just crazy how you see transformation. And I had a team member hit me up later who's new. They hadn't been at one of these before. And they said, "Hey, I just wanted to reach out and say that was one of the best like speeches I've heard." And I was like, "No, like I'm not good at speeches. Like I'm horrible at that." And they were like, "No, but You use story in a way that everyone wanted to go that direction
Mm,
because they believed in that direction.
yeah.
We like are just saying a statement doesn't get people to do something.
Mm,
For them, their feelings have to change. Stories affect feelings. And you could
yeah.
be like, "Oh no, I don't make decisions off of feelings." Bullshit. You do make decisions off of feelings. In fact, it's really like all circumstances are neutral. It's
Mm,
your thoughts about those circumstances that create feelings.
yeah.
And those feelings drive our actions. Okay. You don't think that's true? Okay. Whatever, if your vice is alcohol or your ice vice is sugar, then I'm just going to tell you this blank statement. Don't do it anymore. Oh, good. Now you have all the truth. You don't need to do it anymore. You're great. That's not true because your feelings are going to drive you to want to do those things. You have to have some kind of transformational belief happen in order to change those kind of things. Okay.
Mm.
And I'm not trying to simplify any change to addiction or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. But
How
I
dare you?
would say you've got to be able to connect purpose, thoughts with action. And the only way to get to those is to bridge that gap with feelings, which means you need to do stories. And you don't have to be the best. And I'll tell you, I was really bad at telling stories at one point, really bad. I would tell long stories and focus on the parts that don't matter at all. Okay. But the only way you get better is practice. Do you know Second City, Dustin?
Yeah, in
The
Chicago.
Yep.
Improv.
So bro. Yeah, so we were up there and we had Second City come in and we were doing some exercises. And one of the exercises was to sit across from another person. And what I would do is tell them a story in 1 minute. And the story had to be about something great that happened in our business. So I took a minute and they gave like a, hey, 30 seconds has been used kind of moment. And I realized that I wasn't as good as I thought I was because I was like, oh, shoot, I need to get down to the actual story. I'm like trying to build the preface and get to it. And so then I like told the full story and they were like, all right, time's up. Now, the partner, I want you to respond and tell us their story in 30 seconds. So then the partner would re-articulate the story in 30 seconds.
That's good.
And after they were done, the first person again would take their story and tell it in 10 seconds. And then the partner would give a hashtag. Like that was the whole event. The point was to learn how to start getting to what's important
Get to the point.
and get to the point and the feelings can still be there because you start to see what's important to the story. Not just articulating information, but what's important to the story. Okay? So I would not saying that you need to go do that, but that's good practice. I think there are people who are talented at storytelling. But again, back to old Edison, 99% perspiration. Okay? Like talent's not necessary for this. This is a learned habit, I think.
Yeah.
So I would just say grind. Go learn how to be a good storyteller. Identify your values. Come up with those values, articulate them, and come and put story behind them. I think that's what I would have for leaders. Would you have anything else on leaders?
No, I was just gonna say I know we're going a little long today. It's been a minute since we recorded. If you haven't noticed, we've been releasing twice a month instead of every week right now. So the episodes could fluctuate in time. But let me just give a few action steps for team members here before we wrap up. Talked about sharing stories as a team member. I think it's your responsibility to you're gonna see a lot of those stories kind of on that mid to ground level. So share those stories up as much as possible, up and around,
Mm.
and down. Really, 360. Share the stories. If you're, let's just bring in some degrees to it. Share that you have to share those stories because you're the one that's going to get to see them the most. And if you want to see radical change in your organization, you can do it with stories. Team
Mhm.
members also important for you to define your own personal alignment. We talked about if you're an employee or sorry, a team member at the Jerks company, uh, you gotta know yourself enough to know is this where I want to be? Does my purpose, personal purpose, align with the Jerk company, or does it align
Mm.
with a different company? And if it aligns with a different company, that's okay. Better
Yeah.
you know it now. Go take care of that, right? Practice value based decision making. You're going to use those values. Uh, that we talked about earlier, those are not just decisions to be made at the top. Those are decisions to be made by team members on the ground floor as well. And then provide some value alignment feedback, right? So if you're providing feedback to your boss or to your manager or whoever's your direct report, right? If you can align your feedback with a value, I guarantee you have you have their ear a little stronger than you would if you
Mm.
didn't, because you go, oh wow, you care about this company. I didn't realize that. I thought you were just here for a paycheck. Oh no, okay, cool. So yeah, I'm all ears now. If it's taking us away from one of these values, then yeah, I would love to hear your feedback on how we can more closely align to those values. So that's for leaders, for team members. That's our action steps. Anything else you want to add before I wrap up this episode, Blake?
The only thing I would say for team members would just be I had someone once say to me before I started my company when I was like, hey, I'm trying to change everything. I'm trying to change everything. The last thing they said is if you don't have the ability to change your culture at large, you will be changed by your culture at large.
Hmm.
And this is the whole bad company corrupts good character. Okay. Like literally company. Right. So I'm not saying I want to balance this. That if it's stressful or hard, that you should run away. I'm not saying that because
Nope.
that's totally different. And back to the Thomas Edison aspect of perspiration and the whole like people miss good opportunity because it dresses in overalls and looks like work. Like you got to do hard work. That's Edison too, by the way.
Yep.
Um, like we have to be able to do those things. However, if you find your values are changing because they're not aligned, or at least not aligned with what you see in the leadership of the culture of that organization, then maybe you should. Okay. And I'm not trying to push people away from your organization leader. I'm just saying be a better leader.
I love it. Be a better
Cool.
leader. Yes, that's today's episode. A little longer than our past few. So thanks for sticking with us through it. We had a lot of stuff to say and a lot of stuff to share with you that Thomas Edison once said. But next episode, we're going to be back talking about a super cool topic that I'm very pumped about. Episode 87, we're going to talk about mindfulness and its role in embracing your workplace culture. That'll be next
Mm.
time on the Culture Based Podcast. Talk to you then.